So when I started filming this, they had not put out the, like, official picture for the collection or whatever you want to call it. But then my camera was running out of batteries, so I recharged that, and then when I came back, actually a few days later, didn't have to wait a few days, but I didn't get around to it till a few days later, and now they have the official, like, pictures of the collections up, and also they have the, on the United States websites, they have the items up as well. So here is the website for Michael's, but this is the website for Michael's in what I understand is a single store in Canada. For some reason, the Michael's Canadian location, for some reason, has a bunch of Halloween stuff on the website. I figured out by seeing someone else's video. Or they're like, oh, here's some things from the website, this is the Canadian website. I'm like, wait, what? This thing up here is a picture from the last year decorations, but so they haven't updated that. But I thought I'd show some of these interesting things about, like, what the new, more, like, eerie, like, less cutesy type Halloween decorations would be this year. But here were a few things that I found that weren't specifically, it didn't look like in the line that I specifically wanted to show. Okay, we'll show that now. So first is this, maybe I'll zoom us in here. So here we have a Venus flytrap. I'm assuming it's probably going to be metal. It looks like maybe it's metal. Maybe it's like a fabric thing. I think it's metal though. And it has these cool purple, like, sparkly inside of the mouth and the sharp teeth, which I think is quite cool. It looks like maybe some mossy kind of details. And then these Graves 18 CT, is that centimeters? Gravestone icon LED string lights. I thought these were pretty cool. These little tombstones with the skulls on them and the light string. I just noticed these little poison jars, string of lights. They're kind of in spring colors. I'd have them out for spring. But here was, here's moths. We have to take a look at that. Moth string lights, those are quite nice. Here's what they look like not lit up. Just some nice little brown moths. That looks like the cord. Yeah, black wire. So if you have something black that you're putting it on, like I have a black Christmas tree, then that would blend right in and you just have these nice little moths sitting on there. So that'd be pretty cool. But here was the stuff that, so they're doing like a ghostly white, haunted forest they're calling it. This specific piece here that looks like a death's head mushroom is very similar to a thing that came out last year, but I'm still going to show it real quick before we get to the stuff that, like, let's just start right off with this wraith here, because this is a pretty good representation of like the type of stuff I'm seeing. So like this very cool, again, it's called Haunted Forest, but this like wraith, but it's like this ghostly white instead of like the dark black and gray sort of like old cemetery Grim Reaper type of look, which is generally what I go for personally. It's this unique, like, just really eerie, sort of like some misty estate. And there's some folk horror looking pieces in here as well, which I think is quite cool. It looked like At Home this year was coming out with some stuff that looked almost like in the South in the US, some of the, like, kind of the bayou type, like, estate houses and stuff like that, kind of like that type of theme with, like, moss and, like, an alligator skull and things like that. But, like, some of the stuff where it was, like, an old estate-looking thing, where it's, like, the old kind of like white with some paint peeling off sort of look with the moss. Some of this stuff in here kind of reminds me of that. So if you're into that and you're getting the stuff from one place, like if you're into specifically like the southern sort of like, oh, it's gonna be a bayou sort of haunted mansion sort of look, then there's some pieces in this collection at Michael's that could go with that at-home sort of look. Like even this here, you could have this go with your at-home haunted manor house type of look. Have your haunted bayou type of look. Here we've got Parlor of, oh, it'd be better if I just read it without zooming in. Parlor of Magical Curiosities. All strange things to be found here. This also could work if you have like a spooky, like Victorian doll sort of look. Like I've seen a lot of times, like the spooky doll stuff is like mostly like the dolls are in like a lacy white dress or something. Like you could even have this for that. It's a thing you hang up on the wall. Here's a pink version of what looks a lot like the death head mushrooms, which are a real type of mushroom that are poisonous. They're pale green or white in real life, but these pink ones have that kind of ruffle underneath the, what's it called? The hood of the mushroom. But this thing right here, the death head mushrooms have that, which that's the only mushroom I'm aware of in real life that has that. So these are kind of modeled after that, it looks like. Here's a thing I thought was super cool. Some of these, I just noticed some of these listings are in inches, which is kind of random. Most, at least the ones I was paying attention to, were in metric, which makes more sense since it's the Canadian store. But this says 20 inches Woods Witch and Bats oval wall art in ornate black frame for $50. So it is large, but it also is quite a bit of money. But I love this picture in here, how it's like this foggy, smoky. This would be good for some, like, it could be a more that like white sort of eerie look, like some of the stuff in these different collections, or it could be for like a darker witchy or like folk horror type look. And there's like another figure over here in the fog. I just really like the foggy stuff, like the witchy stuff and bats. So this was quite cool to me. Oh, there's the back. Oh, that's interesting. It looks like it's like there's not a back on the picture. So what I guess I'll have to wait. If this comes into my store, I'll have to wait and see what exactly the meaning of that is. So does that mean it's... Because some of the stuff that's like the bats that look like they're in the fog, I'm almost wondering, like, is that like a 3D thing? Where it, like that thing where, like, depending on where you're standing, the picture changes? Like, is that what this is? Or is it like a thing that you could put up in the window and like light could shine through it? Is there more? I'm not really seeing any. This is interesting. I suddenly can't speak. They say, this spooky accent will make a wonderful addition to a mantle display paired with a dark floral arrangement. So, oops, I bumped the camera. But, yeah, so that's a nice idea. But I was hoping they'd say what the significance, if there is one, of why there's no back on the actual picture itself, so that you can, like, see through it like that. So, I guess if you can actually see through it, then that could be a potential, like, if you're putting it up against something, it won't have all this, like, foggy white background. It might, like, if you're putting it up against a wall that's a color, then I guess you'd be seeing that wall through this. I don't really understand what the significance of that is, but I like the picture. I guess I'll just go ahead and show this witchy item. Should I make a different video on the witch stuff? Because it looked like there was some more, like, kind of fortune teller witch type of themed stuff. So maybe I should just make a different video on that. But this says it's an LED thing, so I'm assuming this is a clear crystal ball that then lights up. Because it almost looks silver, but I think in real life it would be clear. Here's another piece that's quite cool. That's the Haunted Forest. And it's this, what looks like a tomb type of sculpture. I like how it's like this hooded, ghostly mourner. And this is it looks like it is going to be a light gray, but this still, if you have any, like if you do a thing that's more like black and like dark colors, like I do, instead of like the ghostly white and light gray type of thing, this would still probably work pretty well for that. Because it does look like that sort of cemetery stone type color. Here is the 7-inch pearl skull tabletop decor. I wonder, maybe is it just because it's the Canadian website and like Michael's is a United States store, so like maybe they ship everything like from wherever in the United States, the Michael's like do they ship stuff out from like the Michael's headquarters or something, and so it is more money to have it shipped further away from there or something, like I don't know, but maybe that. But otherwise it seems like the prices on this specific website, at least that I'm seeing right now, are definitely a bit up there. So I'm not sure, like I said, if that's just the prices are going to be higher with the Michaels stuff this year, or maybe it's not actually higher, but it just, I'm being surprised compared to like at home, where this stuff tends to be what I would consider more reasonably priced. I'm having, my tongue is like, my mouth is kind of dry and my tongue is like sticking around and making me slur my words together a little bit, but here is a white version of that headless crow that was a very creepy, witchy type of item that was the last year candle holder. So instead of black, it's now this painted white that almost has kind of like, it almost is, it could theoretically be used for like almost a farmhouse type of thing. Like if you have a haunted farmhouse, I guess that picture won't be bigger for some reason. But if you're doing like a thing that's like, oh, it's the classic farmhouse, but it's like a creepy one, this could be good for that. Anyway, about the prices though, I know like there are some places in the US where there's like a specific, it'll be a company that's like based in California, and the further away you get from California, the higher the prices get. So I have no idea if this is like a store that then like, well, if you get out of the country, stuff is more expensive, so the prices seem higher on the Canadian website, but in an American store, then it won't be that price when it comes into those stores, or like if the prices are just higher this year. Or maybe I'm just noticing it more. Here are some white witch's boots. I just had an idea. If you're having a wedding and you want it to be like spooky in some way, but you still want to have white be the main color, you could have stuff from this line for that. But it does look like it's a little bit of this off-white, kind of, so it does give that like antique, sort of creepy, old, worn look. Can we tell if these are, I can't tell if they're hollow on the inside, like if you could use it as a vase or not. Here is the Halloween small silver skeleton key wall decor for $12.99. I like this sort of like Gothic cathedral window almost looking pattern on this part of the key. And there's the hanger on the back. So unfortunately my throat decided it'd be a great time to have a coughing fit, and I couldn't really get over it, so I have a cough drop in. If you like right there, if you hear something like in my mouth, it's probably that. Now there's another witchy item, so we'll not look at that right now. I'm having really bad seasonal allergies right now, and then I took some allergy medicine, and then that made my mouth and throat dry. Now I'm coughing, so. But here is a anatomical heart type piece in white. And there's the back, so I think there was a piece like this in some other color that was not white. I don't remember what it was though. Maybe it was like purple and gold or something last year, and it had this type of a back on it, where it's like this standing up piece, so it's not like a vase or anything. Here was another piece I thought was super cool. Halloween 9.25 inches framed veiled witch. And it's this skeletal figure that's like cloaked coming out of this picture frame. Here we have what looks like an old garden statue of this stone toad with moss on it. That's what it looks like. It's got a butterfly on its back. Here we see the fronts of the snakes wrapped around there. Here we have the elegant white bathtub that has a skull on it. Here's another piece I thought was quite cool. It's this glittery white raven. I invented a new bird. A glittery white raven taking a large pearl that's kind of like this skull's eye out with its beak. Oh, I guess it's a crow. Yeah, well, I mean, that would make sense for what size it is. I'm not sure why I said raven. Here are some wall decor pieces that look like something that would be cool to like put above a door, or maybe like a bookcase or something. There's the hanger. I thought this was pretty cool. This is a pumpkin that's made out of skulls and various parts of human bones. It's a very haunting piece. Kind of looks like one of those ossuaries, where it's like the church that's made out of the different bones. Here is a snake with a skull, but then there's also this light pink rose down here. This to me just really looks like a thing that, like if you're doing like this sort of classic white and lace and pearls and all that sort of like a wedding thing, then this would be something that would be pretty great to have like on a table or something. Here is a white teapot. It says, "Freaks like me drink tea." Okay, now this is one of the items that I'm like, I don't understand what's happening here. So it says Halloween small white with roses pillar candle holder. So like, is it a tree? Because doesn't it kind of look like it almost like has roots at the bottom? And then there's like parts sticking out kind of. Is it like a white tree that there's roses wrapped around? Like, is it supposed to be like a really organic looking thing? Anyway, this piece to me does not read as anything at all like eerie or haunted. So if you have more, like this is almost more like a, is like Princess High Tea party or something. Like English Garden Tea Party or something like that. So if you're into the creepy stuff, this particular piece probably would not be something you'd be super interested in. But if you're into, ironically, almost the opposite of that, then you could just buy this and no one would ever have to know it was a thing that went with a Halloween line. It's metal crown tabletop decor. We have one with the spider. Now, almost kind of looks like it's like the crown is spider webs, which is kind of cool. And then there's the one with the bats. And then this, I think, goes with that candle holder I was confused about. This says Vine Woman with Roses tabletop decor. So maybe the other thing was supposed to sort of be like a tree, and then this is kind of like a dryad or something. Here's another thing I thought was super cool. This mirror that has this crow skull and then like these wings wrapped around it. But it was kind of this Victorian Gothic looking frame. Here is a clock that has these nice... I wish there was a way to like zoom in on it where I didn't end up with the cursor right in the center of the image, but anyway. It has these nice ravens sitting on these skulls on a stack of books with like various roses around. I think that's a nice combination of like that sort of... Oh, and there's a bat actually up across here too, I just noticed. I think this is a nice combination of that sort of like classy white mansion sort of look, and then like the spookiness. This is quite cool. This Halloween 8 by 25 inches white veiled figure tabletop decor. And it's this tombstone looking thing with this veiled statue. Here are some fake stones. Expect magic. With some various sort of little squiggle designs. I guess scrolling designs, you'd call it more. And then spiders with spider webs. And then witch's garden with these butterflies or moths. And some plants and the spider webs. Here is a large silver skeleton key. Wall decor. It's a little bit different than the little one. It looks like there might be a white jewel, like right there. Here's another veiled skull sort of phantom statue thing. With these pale roses on the top. I quite like this witch's garden with the white raven on there. This very much makes me think of like a foggy morning in like an herb garden or something. I think this is a good combination of like this eerie, ghostly, like pale, like the white type color, and this very rustic garden type of looking wood, and then like the eerie type of elements. I don't know if it's a specific tribe or not, but there's... Oh, and then in the back there's, instead of just a signpost, there's this very organic looking, almost like tree stump thing. But there's... I don't know if it's a specific tribe, but there's a Native American legend about how ravens were originally. Again, this says crow, but I'm saying raven. The face to me just looks slightly ravenish, even though probably, I mean, well, this is a foot tall. Yeah, that would be a crow size then, probably. But there's a native legend about how ravens originally were white, and then there was a fire that was keeping the people warm during an especially cold winter, and the raven was sitting up in a tree above the fire using its wings to fan the flames to keep the fire going so that people wouldn't freeze to death. And in doing so, the raven ended up getting black with soot, and its song, which was the most beautiful of all the bird's songs, turned into this croaking, hoarse voice. So the raven traded being the most beautiful looking and sounding bird, being this big pale white bird, so that the people could survive. So some of these white ravens or crows, I keep saying ravens again, but these white crows are kind of reminding me of that story. I enjoy romantic walks through haunted houses. Oh, and it's got this skull with some kind of flowers faintly in the background. I didn't notice the skulls earlier. I looked at it for the first time. I was just kind of like, why is there just some random color in the back? Yeah, that's the flowers around the skull. And it's one of these things that you set on the table and is kind of 3D-ish, I think. Then here's teacups that are white and say witch's brew and love potion. So that could be pretty good for like a Valentine's Day thing. You have your white love potion teacup. Because white's kind of a Valentine color. I've seen that used in Valentine stuff. So at first I thought that this was the front of the mirror, and it was like a prop that looked like a really cracked mirror that I thought was like, oh, that's cool. But this is actually the back, and it looks like maybe like satiny black with these lace spider webs on it. And it looks like it might be, I don't know, but it looks like it might be the kind of mirror where you can, like, tilt it, which is nice. Because if you're actually going to use a mirror, it seems like a tabletop mirror, it seems like you would, if it's actually going to stay a tabletop mirror and it's not going to be, then you're going to grab it up off of the tabletop. It seems like you'd need to be able to tilt it. But then here's actually the mirror side. So it looks like there might be like a white, sort of opal-looking jewel up there. And then here's the ornate white looking mirror. And here's they show us a bigger picture of the back here so you can see the detail. So the spookiness is the spiderweb lace on the back. So I don't know if you'll be able to tilt this or not, but it at least has the appearance that maybe it does. Here's a cow skull. This could go with literally anything. Looks like there might be some like moss-looking details on there. Here is a white version of a box that I think was like black and gold last year. I'm pretty sure there was a box that at least looked very similar to this design, but it was like the details were all in gold last time. Here is a piece of wall decor that has the design that was in that one where that had some quote on it that we just saw. Oh, I guess maybe it's not exactly the same picture, but here it is where you can actually see the design because it's the focal point instead of a thing in the background. So it's these flowers with the skull and these butterflies on this old aged looking background. Then here's the pieces that I personally am more interested in. This tombstone looking piece here says eternal rest. Can't tell, it might have some gold on it actually. I'm not sure. Anyway, just good old classic spooky tombstone. Yeah, I think the skeleton woman is in gold. It's got these various ornate designs on it. And then here's another one, but this one says, "My beloved." And she's like kind of coming out of the back of the tombstone. And then we have this. Looks like this might be one of those pieces like before where there'd be the witch with the, like where it'd be the big wall painting that then had the witch that you could light up and have the light in various little places on the picture. So this one looks like maybe a winter witch. And again, this creepy veiled phantom figure with these wolves. So that, to me, this is very wintry. I don't know if it's supposed to be winter or not. The other pieces look like they're not supposed to be winter, so maybe it's not actually supposed to be winter, but like this looks to me like that would be a super cool, creepy, wintry looking thing. Oh, here it is showing. I don't know if you'll be able to tell real well, but there are some lighter spots on here where it's like you can kind of see the warmth of the light coming through. There's the hanging on the back. Here we have two different haunted house canvas LED wall decor. So I guess these also will have parts of them that light up. So we have this one, just classic good antique creepy Victorian house picture. And then this one that I guess that I don't know what era of house is that. This to me looks almost either like a slightly more modern house or like a house in like the South or the Midwest. But anyway, kind of this like, again, that kind of like creepy like American Gothic type of look. And here's showing this one where it lights up. Can you see this? There we go. And I can't make it bigger in this mode, but there's that one lit up. Here's another one of these candle holders, but this is a bigger one. One of the confusing candle holders. I think it's probably supposed to be kind of like a white tree. Here is a big candelabra that looks very similar in sculpting to one that's in like a really dark gray at home, except this one looks like has a snake on it. And some like little animal head there. And obviously it's white. Here we have a snake that is a candle holder. Here's another tabletop decor piece. It's this aged looking skull picture. And we have this very cool skeleton vampire bat head with some moss details. I think that's quite cool. I like the vampire type of stuff. Here's a stack of books piece. We've got spells with this nice skull. We've got an unnamed book and a potions book. And then there's the bottom of it, I guess. Then I thought this was interesting. So this is a piece of wall decor that is and they have one for each of them, the three other what they were the big canvases with the light up, little lights in them. but if you missed out on those, you weren't able to get them. They were too pricey, which they were pricey. They also were very large, so if that didn't work out for you, then they have these, which it looks like maybe they'll be canvas again. I'm having a little bit trouble of figuring out why the picture looks exactly the way that it does in this computer screen photo, so I'm not sure. And then obviously there's the frame around the outside this time, which there wasn't before. So I'm not sure exactly of, is it like a canvas thing this time, or, because otherwise the picture looks like kind of blotchy and light, but like it could be glare off of canvas, so I'm not sure exactly. But anyway, so there's that one. So that's the fiery, like with the fiery birds witch picture, which was the last year one. So that's, I like this picture quite a lot. I think that's very cool. Here is a historical site, haunted house since 1793. Touch nothing and nothing will touch you. I think that's pretty funny. And it's white and maybe light, very light gray or silver. This is giving me, oh, is it like 10? It might be 10, because I can see the design in the backs. But this is reminding me of some of the, like, old buildings, like in New England, where they'll have a plaque like this, but then it'll be inside, it'll be, like if it's a bed and breakfast, or like a historic hotel or something, the inside will be dressed up with like a colonial quilt, and like white lace, and a rocking chair, and like kind of that sort of stuff. Like this would work real well with something like that, where it's kind of this, I guess could work with like, oh, the white lace curtains and the white china with the blue flowers on it and stuff, and then you want to add a little bit of creepiness to it. Got historical site, haunted house. Touch nothing and nothing will touch you. Here we've got a bird cage with some creepy flower items in there. Oh, there's a white crow too, actually, that looks kind of iridescent, so that's quite cool. This again looks very, this reminds me of a lot of like the like classic, like if you're going through Michael's trying to find a craft thing and you end up in the wedding section, like the type of stuff that's in there. This reminds me of that. So if you're having like a wedding with that type of theme, you don't want to have like the dark, all like black and like blood red or dark purple vampire type of wedding. Then you could have a, yeah, it's white, but it's still creepy wedding with something like this, where it's the bird cage with the just kind of vaguely unsettling, sort of witchy looking flowers in there with the crow. So that's 12 inches, but again, kind of, you gotta have money. I don't know how much it would cost to DIY this, though. I have no idea how much a bird cage would cost. So anyway, there's that. Now, these were quite cool. Here we have these assorted framed pictures. Oh, it looks like I can see them bigger here. So I'm having a little bit of trouble telling, but I think these are 3D. I think that the animals in these are 3D. So we have a snake with this background that kind of looks like a old rundown wallpaper, but also kind of looks like a forest. Kind of just like a foggy type of forest. So I thought these were quite cool. And then there's a dove or a raven. I guess that's a raven. I'm pretty sure there's a thing later that is a dove, and I thought, oh, that's interesting to have a dove. But, like, a raven flying through the forest, and this one obviously is a forest, so maybe they're all supposed to be a forest. But, again, it's just very, like, a misty morning at this creepy old manor. And it's just all white and foggy. And then a wolf in the haunted forest. Maybe they're not, like, 3D animals. I can't tell. Anyway, and then they're in these aged gothic frames. I like the coloring on them. They really do look like some misty old picture. And here's a piece I really like. So here we have this, like, kind of gothic cathedral window, but it also looks like some stuff that's at, like, those, like, farmhouse style decor places where it'll be, like, the signs that say, like, eat farm fresh and, you know, stuff like that. And then they'll have things like this where it's this aged white, almost cathedral looking but not quite type of, like, I think you could totally make this look like a cathedral window if it was black and had, like, a stained glass design in it. But, like, this is kind of, it's, like, partially, like, kind of, like, white gothic, but then it's also almost kind of like a Midwest American type of, like, it's Hobby Lobby, but it's haunted sort of look, if you know what I mean. But I think this is just really interesting, like, this all white with this haunting portrait in there. But then the background of the picture with the ghosts in it is white as well, so it's not even like, oh, she's out, like, with a background or something, but it's still this very striking, atmospheric, effective piece. So I thought that was interesting. I haven't seen something like this before. It just has the hanger up on the back like that. This is where the magic happens. And it's this almost like Victorian illustration looking sign here. And it has this 3D sort of element to it. Oh, it's tin, it looks like. I'm pretty sure it's tin. So, like, the words in the hat stick out as well. Here we have a Seasons Creepings sign with these ghostly, eerie woods in the background. Sign. This, yeah, tabletop sign. Here is a 5.5-inch white square ornate jewelry box. Is it ceramic? It almost looks like it's ceramic. Like, that looks like ceramic. So maybe it is. I'm not sure. Here is a tabletop sign that says, "Beware of the witch." We've got a little spider web detail up there. This aged, sort of like Victorian looking font and border around here. Like this just kind of looks like a summer thing to me personally. This is a white floral metal tabletop tray. And it's this very like vintage looking, again, like kind of almost like a Victorian illustration in one of those like ads for like a seed company or something sort of style here with, oh, maybe it's butterflies and moths. I was thinking those were bees, but I guess those are moths, so I guess that's how it qualifies as being a little bit to the more darkly inclined or whatever you want to say. So then it sits on this little ball. There's 3 of them. Okay, so it sits on those. I thought it was all balancing on this one little marble in the middle. Like, what's happening there? A welcome sign with a snake around it. It looks like the background of the welcome part is made to kind of look like white painted wood. Like this, the poison garden. These plants can kill. I like the concept of the poison garden. And again with this very like Victorian era ad looking scrolly design around here and the style of font and stuff. And that's described as a tabletop plaque. Oh, so I guess this is one of those things where it's like the whole thing is like a piece of whatever that sort of wood or cardboard or whatever it is material, where it is just the thing that just sits there. Okay, now here is the one I remember this was the first one of these witch pictures to come out. This is the wall decor piece that's this magical blue scene with the witch in the forest. Apparently some people were speculating that the 3 witch designs were symbolic of that it was going to be a series of the 4 elements. I'm trying to think what one this would have been then. Oh, I think this was the earth one, people were thinking, because she's out in the forest. And then the one that we already just saw was the fire one. I think some people, though, originally were thinking that this was the water one, and I thought, like, oh, the 4 elements thing, yeah, that's, I mean, obviously the one very much is fire, and we're about to see what my favorite one in the series is, which is the wind one, which is like, yeah, I can see why you'd think that's wind. But I wasn't fully sold on, like, because some people were thinking this one was the water one, and I'm just kind of like, I don't know, I feel like that's a stretch, you know, but, like, apparently they were right, because there is one that I'm we're going to see at some point here that is clearly marked as being a water one. It's like the water witch or something like that. Here we have an enter if you dare with this lovely, very like botanical sketch design with the skulls. Again, I personally think this is a good mix of like that more like vintage Victorian sort of art type thing, and then like if it's supposed to be a creepy thing, then how that's put in as well. Because like some of the things for me, it's like I don't fully understand how that's spooky, but maybe that's supposed to be kind of a thing of like, well, this will also appeal to people who aren't actually going for a creepy thing, and it's like, oh, that's nice, just all year round thing for my afternoon tea inspired sort of room. I'm not sure exactly. But here's this picture again in a tabletop sign format. Oh, but again about those witch pictures, I wonder if that one for this year was meant to be like, even though it would actually be the element of water, but like the element of snow or something. We're not going to look at the psychic stuff. We're going to look at that in a different video, I've decided. So we'll skip those for now. But like, I wonder about that, because that is in that style of where it's here's the witch and then it lights up like that. So here's another piece that's that cool window thing that I think is very cool, where it's they've done it where it's the aged looking frame, and then they have the background in the picture a close color to the frame, and then the contrasting thing is the ghost in there. I think that's an interesting concept, because I always would have thought of, well, we'll have the picture and it be very contrasting to the frame, but I think this is an interesting approach. So this is a piece that stands up on your table. Okay, now this, let's see if we see a moth here, because this is very like, oh, there's spiders. Okay. They're like, somebody's gonna be mad that there's nothing creepy about this. Let's add in a spider. Okay, I see you. Okay, that's fine. I just get a little bit confused if there's something where it's like, how, like it's being marketed as a holiday and there's nothing that it all relates to that. Like I thought this was literally just going to be a white thing with roses in it, and it's like, that's literally not a holiday, and it's under the holiday on the website. So I mean, I love like creative things where it's like, here's something that's eerie but it's a creative approach, and not just like, you know, an orange jack-o'-lantern for Halloween, even though that's great as well. But like, I like seeing the creativity of the stuff that's the year-round type pieces, but I was a little bit confused there at the beginning. That just looked like it was going to be pink roses. Here we have Home, Sweet Haunted Home. I can't tell, it almost looks like it's going to be like, have the look of something embroidered. And it has these spider webs with spiders. Okay, so that's the thing that hangs on the wall. You have the Ethereal White Witch wall art. And it's this interesting kind of like almost watercolor looking design here. Again, this very much reminds me of that sort of like Midwest farmhouse sort of style. Like if you're doing that and then you just want to pop in a witch. Also it, like with the blue and the brown and the white, it almost kind of looks like it could be a beach house thing. Because it is a little non-committal at where she is. It almost could be like, that almost could be like some reflective water with like some beach rocks or sand or something right over there. So it almost could be like a beach house witch. This was a piece I thought was really cool because it just looks very folk horror to me, which is a very underrated sort of look from what I've seen available out in places at least. So I thought this was pretty exciting. But even like the frame is like the forest, which I think is a unique approach. But then inside there's this very foggy witch that's like kind of bleeding into the frame and disappearing up into the fog at the top. So it gives very much this look, like if you had this up on a white wall as like a main piece, it would give this look of like the darkness kind of bleeding out of the photo and into the space. Just again one of those like simple haunting pieces that are the like, I'm very much into like more the eerie type stuff and less into like the things where it's more like the thing where it was the tray where it's like the flowers but then it also has a spider in it. Like I like the very atmospheric creepy things. So like this to me is a creative approach of that, which I personally think is super cool. And it hangs up on the wall. What are we gonna do? Are we gonna look at some of these things in here? I guess we'll look at the bat. Yeah, because that's more witch, I guess, than psychic. Oh, should we? I don't know. There's some things in here that are more psychic, kind of, and witch type stuff. Maybe we'll do that in a separate video. I'll show the bats, though. Because there is more like a purple and gold type line there. That is like a witch line. So I think I'll show that with the psychic stuff. But here are these bats. It looks like maybe this year they'll be all black instead of having some slight metallic brushing like the ones I got from last year. But anyway, these are super great. I'm really happy with these. Here's another one of those very haunting pieces that I think is really cool. Is this hand holding this creepy, kind of cracked looking mirror that has this ghost's face in it. Here we've got a toad. I'm not sure if this is maybe supposed to be more as part of like a witch line. I mean, I guess the frog could be in the haunted forest. And here's they're calling it the floral watercolor skull pillow. Looks like it's just white on the back. A lot of witch stuff, which we'll see in a different video. Here is a velvet floral skull throw pillow. Here's one of the items that looked very, like, folk horror-esque to me. This white Halloween cabinet decoration. And we've got these various items in here. The snake, the butterfly, the bottle of like an apothecary or potion type bottle with crystals. This big raven skull with a spider, skull, mushrooms, some type of a bone and fur. Oh, and there's a closer look at the items inside. Here are some test tubes. I think that there was a thing like this last year, but it was, or maybe like a year before that or something, but it was a different color. It was probably like a natural wood color, like a brown or something. There's butterflies, maybe some type of an herb thing, a powdered thing. I'm not sure what this one here is near the end there. And then there's a mushroom one. Here are some coffin shelves that have, it's all glass apparently, and they have these front opening doors on them. So it's an enclosed thing. Here is another coffin shelf that, let's see, does that, it looks like that one also has that same type of double doors that come out. I didn't pay attention to what size the other one was, but this one's 10 inches, so I'm assuming the other one must have been a different size. Here we have a creepy tree in white. Is there like a bat or a spider or something in there maybe? Can't tell. Well, maybe, like, something's, like, right here. I can't tell if that's some creature up in the tree or not. But anyway, this would be good for that ghostly looking display, or like a winter thing. Could have a creepy, snowy, icy tree. Here's an item I thought was super cool. It's called a White Witch bust, but it's this very ghostly, like, look at, she's got this very ghoulish face. It's this, like, antique, kind of yellowed looking white lace and ratty veil over her face. I think this is pretty cool. It's like a thing that could work for like a classic Halloween thing or a more elegant thing. It could be a year-round thing. It even could work for like if you do a thing with like scary dolls or something. Or it could be a witch thing. I personally think it looks a little bit more like a ghost, but it could work for a witch thing too, I guess. And then there's these called assorted 8-inch white insect wall hanging. So they've got the butterfly. Oh, and here's the view. Like, this is kind of what the thing is. So there's the butterfly. This, which is that like a cicada? It almost could be a moth, but it doesn't have the antenna of a moth. And this, which is probably a moth. And the wings are kind of 3D. Yeah, it looks like they have a piece of wing that comes out. Here's this very cool Gothic cathedral window outward of, like, it could be a window or it could be like one of those outward parts of the Gothic cathedrals where they have, like, not the actual window itself, but like it is part of the window, but then there's the part of the architecture that goes up on the top. I have no idea what it's called, but like the pointy parts of the cathedral. And these skeletons, which the one skeleton looks like they've got like a kind of a thorny wreath type thing on the head. So here's an item that I have no idea what to make of. It's the 5-inch toilet with snake tabletop decor. Like, when I first saw this, I'm like, is that a toilet? Like, surely that can't be a toilet, but it is. It looks like you could put something down in there. But like, what exactly... Like, I know they've done things where it's like a skeleton sitting on a toilet or something, which is like, maybe that'd be kind of funny to have like in your bathroom or something, but it's like, I don't know what to make of just a toilet, you know? Like, I'm just curious what, like, exactly what someone would do with this. Like, maybe you'd have in your bathroom and like put, like, I don't know, would you put your toothbrush in it or something? But then, would you really want your toothbrush in a thing that looks like a toilet? Like, I don't know what to make of that. Here is the assorted 6 by 8 inch framed cat tabletop decor. And it's these two pictures that are these, it's a very good mix of like the ghostly spookiness, but it's like also a little bit subtle, but like also with the sort of like Victorian manor type of look. Maybe I need to scroll down on there. There we go, so we can see it better on the camera. But like there's the white cat, which is interesting. I don't really see white cats with Halloween stuff, but it works real well for this. So it's a white cat with a big spider web up in the corner and the broken mirror. That's quite cool. With the candles. And this one is a bathroom. Again, where the creepiness is subtle. So like at first it's like, oh, it's the elegant bathtub with this white cat. But then you look a little bit closer and it's like the mirror's cracked. The candle holder up here has a snake design that's in it. That's the snake wrapping around it. There's a cobweb here coming off of the part of the tub that is a shower head. Here is the snake poison bottle. And it's this very iridescent bottle with the snake there. And it's pink and white and gold. Oh, these are little snakes up on the top too. Little snakes kind of draped about. I'm like, what's the like hair on top of the bottle? Like the bottle top's got a little hat on it. Those are snakes too. There they are, all the little snakes. And here's this half a clock decoration. Is it? Maybe it's actually a clock. This is the back of it. It's got a little thing there. Maybe it's actually a clock. It says, decorate your home with the Haunted Forest collection from Ashland to create a gothic manor look that's perfect for Halloween or year-round. The witching hour clock is the perfect tongue-in-cheek decor piece for your mantle or entryway table. Requires a battery. So maybe it's actually a real clock. But anyway, it's this antique-looking clock that says the witching hour. And it's this very, I don't know really what the aesthetic's called, but like that vintage, like birds and bird cages and stamps, you know, that kind of aesthetic. And like usually some sort of like garden elements or something, and it's like this sort of like vintage spring birds and clocks and stuff like that. Like this is very much giving me that. So like if you do that type of thing, then you could have this subtle spooky decoration, or have your entire thing be like inspired by that aesthetic but have a creepy version of it. Here is this creepy witch picture that's like all distressed and old looking, and I like these big huge sweeping cobwebs that are coming off of it. I think that's a unique thing that they did. There's like these big curtains of cobwebs. That's pretty cool. But like the rest of it almost looks like it's supposed to look like this printed on metal thing that's like it's been like out in, like getting weathered out in the barn or something for a long time. It says estimated in stock July 26th, 2024. So if you're going to the Canada store, that's when they're saying that this would probably be in stock. But now, is this a different one? Hang on. Why does it look so different there? That looks different, right? That's not just me. Is this something where like that almost looks like, the way that this photographed almost looks like this is one of those pictures where like depending on where you're standing it looks different? Is that what's going on? Or like, are these spots like, that can't be lights behind it. Huh. I don't know. I don't see anything about it that's like saying something that is talking about why this one picture looks like the coloring is completely different. But anyway, so I wonder if July 26th is when some of this is expected to come into the Canadian store. I wonder if the American stores are like on a similar schedule. Here is a light up skeleton. There he is lighting up. There's the back. Here's a piece that I quite like the look of. It's this wall hanging that is these creepy these black candles. There's very much this like old painting, like an old oil painting kind of look to it. And you can hang it up. Here's another example of the giant cobwebs wrapped all around something. Is this sort of bust taxidermy looking raven that, and it actually does say raven this time, raven or crow, that has just all of these cobwebs really wrapped around it, which I just think looks so cool and creepy. And it's this kind of like shield shaped plaque. Here's a haunted house picture. Looks like an old illustration from like a story or something. That even could work like, I mean, certainly if you're doing like a black and white thing, but also if you're doing like a vintage thing, that almost could look like a vintage sort of Halloween illustration. Here is a haunted manor sign, again with all the cobwebs all wrapped around it, which I just think is so cool. Welcome to our haunted manor. Here's one of those hanging on the wall flowers that I've seen them get for some other collection. I think it was maybe that Nevermore collection that they had earlier this year. There was some other thing I saw at some point in their store where there was a big flower that you hang up on the wall, but here's a spooky one. Here is a snake. It doesn't say that it's like a candle holder. It almost looks like it's something that should be able to hold something, but it doesn't say it holds anything. Yeah, I guess it's just... oh, sorry, I didn't scroll down enough so you could see the bottom, I guess. But it's a really unique shape. That's pretty cool. Some different angles of it. There's a little snake's face. Here's a skeleton reading on the toilet. The back of the toilet's kind of like a tombstone. That's clever. And then the bowl part looks like a giant skull. Here's like... is it like a crow foot? Yeah, I guess it's like a crow's foot. And it's a candlestick holder. I'm having trouble telling if it's... there's some, like, maybe slightly green thing on it, and I'm having trouble telling, is that, like, little crystals or some type of, like, a moss-looking thing? Or what exactly? Here is a spooky white cat. Very stately. Almost kind of looks like one of those Sphinx cats. Here is a spider potion bottle. Oh, they call it spider poison bottle. But I can't quite tell if it's like iridescent white or gold or what exact color. but it's got this big spider on it, and it's all fancy and heart-shaped. It looks like there might be some gold balls, so maybe sort of like a pinkish color in it. I'm not sure. Here is, again, with the big cobwebs over everything, a simple Happy Halloween sign with a very large, very like vintage sort of like book illustration looking spider on there, and it's this wood looking sign with these big cobwebs draped over it. I thought this was really cool. This looks like one of those things like in a Spanish garden where there'll be one of these, like a Mexican garden where there'll be one of these things up on like the wall. But it's like this skull with the chains on there. So it has very much like a ghost sort of like that first ghost in the Christmas Carol where he comes in dragging the chains. Looks like it's metal and probably has kind of like a bowl in there. That's what I'm thinking. It says tray wall decor, so maybe there's like a tray in there so you set stuff on that. I'm not exactly sure. But it kind of looks like one of those things like people will have in their gardens to put flowers in. So I mean, you could have it up on like your inside wall and put fake flowers in there. Do like a haunted garden thing, that'd be pretty cool. Here is another poison bottle. This one has a skull and a snake. Here we've got a fuzzy looking pillow that's the spider with the web. Again, very like vintage illustration looking, like in a storybook from like the early 1900s or 1800s or something. Has a very simple but rather elegant look to it. Looks like the back maybe is that sort of canvasy type material. And once again, I didn't look at what the size was on that other snake, but apparently this one is a different size. I'm assuming maybe because this is white, it goes with that ghostly white haunted collection, so I'll show this. Generally, spiders really creep me out, but like in a bad way. But this one's actually kind of cute for a spider. Like the face is quite cute, but still the long legs, the long thick hairy legs is not something I'm personally a fan of. But like that's quite a cute little face there. And the fuzziness is quite adorable. And this is a cake stand that is kind of like an old ink drawing of like a tarantula, and then it has the border going around it that looks like black lace, and then it's like ruffly like that. The one thing about this I'm just remembering though is that if you actually had a cake on there, it would cover up all the design, so you would just have a white cake stand. So I guess just keep that in mind, that the part you'd see is it'd just be this white ruffly cake stand. So if you're trying to go for a thing that's like, you want it to be unmistakably a Halloween thing, that if it's actually in use might not actually be super give the effect you're going for, maybe. Here is this almost mummy looking skull with this fabric that the whole thing's a sculpture. It looks like there's this like mummy type fabric draping over this skull. That's quite cool. And it's like all rough, kind of grimy fabric, so it really does look like it's like a mummy type thing. There's a close-up of the face. I guess me doing a close-up just makes it confusing as to what you're looking at. But I like the area over the teeth, especially, like where you can see through the draping. That's pretty cool. And here is a snail that has its back as a geode, which is very clever. And then the rest of the snail also is like has various crystals on it. Here is a skull container. Oh, and this has crystals on it too. Oh, and a snake up here. Kind of a snake crown. And then these various crystals and this very royal looking base. Oh, with the feet on it are snake heads. That's clever. Oh, and it looks like maybe the inside is kind of like quilted fabric. So that's nice if you want to put something in there that you'd be worried would scratch or be scratched by. something that was a hard container, if that is what the inside's made out of. Here is a candle holder that looks like a spine. That's quite clever. This could go with basically anything you have going on. Either it's like specifically a Halloween thing or any time of year. And here was a thing I thought was interesting. I personally don't really care for the crystal studs, but this like creepy cemetery angel cupid type design here. Because like I was thinking around Valentine's Day, like I wonder if anyone would ever have like something where it could be like a cupid thing, but it would be like a spooky version, and like this could work for that. Here is a smaller spine candle holder. This vintage spider tray. Very like old apothecary label looking. Here's another thing that looks like it goes with that like haunted forest or whatever it was called line, but that looks very folk horror, is this crystal deer skull. With that like worn light color palette. Oh, actually, maybe the antlers are like gold. The antlers might actually be metallic, so maybe they're going more. It's less rustic and more like some sort of a high-end, like. Honestly, like with the crystals, this almost could work as like a Christmas thing. Kind of like it's a reindeer or something. Because like with the white, it could be like it's snowy. And if it is metallic, it could be like one of those high-end Christmas things where it's like white and gold or silver. And here's this like sci-fi looking thing that's this skull, some sort of like a dish, it looks like a bowl type thing, with these creepy spider legs that kind of look like bones. So that very much could be a thing that, oh yeah, they are like bones. Like the way that it's colored, it almost could be like a, like the gray kind of, well, this here almost, this has some red mix into it. Okay, so it is like, because I was thinking it almost looked a little bit like driftwood or something, but I guess it's almost supposed to look a little bit like rusty metal. I don't know exactly. Anyway, but that, because there's like a little bit of red in there, but anyway, that's quite a unique thing. Here's some Victorian looking witches. Here is a spider, interesting like dish type thing, but the spider is 3D and sticks up, so I genuinely don't know exactly what this would be used for. Like, would you put something in there? Would you not? Like, I'm not sure what exactly you use this for, but I like the colors and how it's like the blue spider web. That's quite aesthetically pleasing. Again, like with the white and the light blue, that almost could be a wintry thing. Here's another thing that's wolf themed. It's this white wolf with kind of maybe bluish type eyes. Is it actually a door knocker? Does it say? It says for indoor use only. So I don't know if it actually, you actually can like move it like it's a knocker, but you don't actually put it outside because of what it's made out of, or what exactly. But anyway, like that looks like maybe you could move the knocker part around. I'm not sure. Here is another one of those cake stands, but this one is a snake. Here is a white witchy white lace broom that is very unique. It's got these like, it looks like they're probably twigs and not like yarn or something. I'm assuming it's twigs and then this white lace over it. Looks like there's some little jewels. Here is a sort of cemetery angel type statue that doesn't have a head, and again with the crystals as those little crystal things on it. Here is a light up hand with a light up candle being held up by a hand, of which looks like it's coming up out of the dirt. So it looks like looks like someone's trying to make an escape from their grave there with their candle. Candle's got this snake wrapped around it. And here's another spider, tarantula looking pillow here in that sort of old looking type of sketch drawing style. Okay, so here is that witch picture that I was talking about that is specifically says that it's a water witch, and it's another one of those light up ones. Look what a nice picture this is. It's clever that this one's purple, because I was wondering, like, well, if the other one, and then it's the moon over the water there and the smoke. I was thinking, like, well, if the one that already was like blue is the earth one, then is the water one also going to be blue? But they did a purple one, so that was creative. I like these long draping down sleeves she's got. These black birds. And it just hangs up there. There's the little battery thing, I guess. But anyway, so that's the other, I guess that was an Element series, and here is the final one for that. And here's another picture that's has the nice cobwebs all over it. But this is, again, I'm confused by this, because this looks like maybe it's that type of picture where it's, because in this picture it's like the actual picture in it is blurry, so I'm wondering, like, is this one of those things where it's like 3D? Because like that, again, it, like that other witch picture, it looks kind of blue there, but then it looks like this green with the, like it's an old tin thing that the colors rubbed off in this picture. So I'm not sure exactly what's happening there, but it's the Victorian witch looking into her mirror and seeing this skull. And here's this, again with the like kind of foggy sort of effect, like a lot of these things have ended up having. This one's a witch hat on a stack. I'm like, why can't I come up with this word suddenly? A stack of books and a candle So it's very like cool toned. Here's a cloche with animal skull. Looks like there's some gold in there with the crystals again. Here's, I'm assuming, I think that this one is taller than the last, like, Raven's Foot candlestick holder we saw, but I can't remember offhand. But anyway, here's another one of those. Now, this was nice. White snake and heart decoration. That kind of cute little snake. Like, the colors on here are like a tarnished metal, kind of, which is very cool. It's this heart being held up by a skeleton hand, and then this snake wrapped around it, and it's got those little crystal things on it again. Here is a very, like, creepy farm, or, like, folk horror type piece here. This, well, it looks like it might, I thought it was, like, distressed wood, but that looks kind of metallic, actually, so maybe it's sort of like an old, like, the paint's coming off of a metal frame, and then this foggy old sort of ink drawing looking picture of this witch in there. Here is another one of those cobweb covered animal on the shield mount things, but this one is a swan. Here's just a classic black and white, and it looks like gold as well, signed with this almost like an old, like, bar or barber type font on there that says dead inside. Here's a witch's garden thing again. Like that, we already saw the witch's garden, what looked like a signpost coming up out of the ground that had the white crow on it. This one says garden witchery, power plants, fresh herbs, and potent poisons. Here's a sign that says White Raven Inn. Here is a box that looks like it's just this nice sculpture of a skull with a melting candle on a pile of books, all with, what does that say? Archaeology, with crystals all over it. But then it's also actually a box, so that's clever. So you get some storage with your nice piece of sitting around to look at thing there. So it's not just taking up space if you have something else. It's like, oh, I have these things I kind of need somewhere to put, but also I like the way that this other thing looks. Well, maybe you could put the thing in here, depending on what it is. And you can have both things in the space. 'Cause that's one thing, it's like sometimes you see something and it's like, well, that's cool, but I don't have the space for that. So that's clever that this thing is also a box. White Witch with Trees wall decor. And it's this long, thin, very haunting, looks like a ghost out there picture that is really cool. And it's, you don't usually see things this shape too. So if you have some long horizontal area that you want to put something, if you have some like what would that be exactly? Like maybe if you had, like how some people have like a row of hangers to like put your hat on or something up on the wall, you could put this right above it and have like where it looks like those things kind of go together, add some interest there. Here is a really cool item. Halloween 8.25-inch white veiled figure tabletop decor. And it's this kind of like tombstone looking thing with this veiled ghostly bust in there, and it says R.I.P. I like the pieces from this collection that are kind of like this, where it is like a very creepy gothic thing, but then it's like it's in white or a light sort of color like that, where then it kind of looks like it could be like a winter sort of thing. Like that's the stuff that, like, I don't really do like a lot of the things, it's like uses elements that are like animals that I don't really like. It's wolves, or it's like sort of the iridescent pink or something, where it uses elements that I don't really use. But like something like this, I think that like this could work for really any theme at all. So if you have a different sort of a theme that you go for, then this would be the type of thing that I'll be really interested to see, like this and that other thing where it's like the veiled lady holding the skull sort of tombstone looking cemetery statue thing. I'll be really curious to see these things in person. Here is what I think is probably my favorite of the past witch giant light up canvas things. Here's another one of these where it's like it's going to be the little, well, does it say? No, it doesn't say right there what size it's actually going to be, but where they're doing the having these be the smaller, like, little wall hanging things. They're bringing back the designs from years past, which I think is a really cool idea, and having them be these smaller, less space demanding and cheaper items. Obviously they don't light up, but still, this one I think was my favorite. It's these smoky, like, flying ravens out in this field. I forgot that her dress was green. And, like, there's this very, like, stormy, it looks kind of like a Midwestern, or like out in a farm field or something, kind of a scene. And there's this, like, stormy sky that's all, like, in the black and white. Here is A Wicked Witch and Toad tabletop decor. Let's see if I can read what it says back here. A Wicked Witch and Grumpy Old Toad something. It looks like it says live, or so it's probably one of those live here, lives here thing. But here's another haunted forest type item with the big cobwebs and this toad. Cute little frog. Oh yeah, there. Live here. A Wicked Witch and Grumpy Old Toad live here. And then it looks like they're going to be bringing back these ceramic plates from last year. Just thought I'd show them since they're mostly the white. I got a skull one, and I think 2 of these bat ones. And then there's also this spider. Spiders, like, aren't it for me, and I couldn't quite imagine, like, having a thing with food on it and having a spider. That's not what I want to see. But they're like these sort of ink drawing looking designs that I thought were really cool. The one thing is, if you actually have food on it, then it covers up the design, obviously, but there's still the little black stripe around the outside, so you still get a touch of black. It's not a purely then just white plate. But, like, depending on what you're putting on it, you could, like, if it's cookies, you could, like, arrange them around the outside if you're not putting that many on there. So when I started filming this, they had not put out the, like, official picture for the collection, or whatever you want to call it. But then my camera was running out of batteries, so I recharged that, and then when I came back, actually a few days later, didn't have to wait a few days, but I didn't get around to it till a few days later, and now they have the official like pictures of the collections up, and also they have the on the United States websites they have the items up as well, but it looked like the annoying coming soon picture that comes, but it's like a bar that goes right across the middle of the picture, so if it's something like this you can't see the critical area, which was an issue I ran into when I was showing that Nevermore collection online. It looked like that only comes up on the American website for some reason. I'm not sure exactly why that is, but anyway, so I guess I'll keep that in mind in the future. Apparently, at least at this exact moment, the Canadian website doesn't do that, so that's interesting. But anyway, so here is the official thing here. Coming soon, Haunted Forest. Go spooky chic with this romantic take on Halloween decor. And here is the picture that they've got. So it's this like white branches or like tree thing that looks like these little lights on it, and then there's that nice big lighting up veiled creepy, I thought, winter looking witch with the wolves, and there's the raven that sits on the books. I wonder if this is that just a random little lighting up thing, or is that it almost could be that snail? Did that thing light up? Let's get a closer look here. Doesn't that almost look like that there could be a little snail head there? I can't tell what this is. There's the picture that I think is so cool. That's the witch disappearing into the fog that has the branches coming in from the frame. There's the broom that's like white and has the lace and is like this really unique thing I haven't seen before, where it's like the white sticks broom and it's all like white themed. I can't remember now. Did it have little like crystals or something? I know that there's like a little white diamond, sort of like a clear jewel on it. Unlike someone like Jade the Libra, I don't have a great memory about the things that we just saw. I did refresh to see what were all the things we already saw, but I can't remember in detail what all the different items were. But it looks like there's some little sign here that says something on it, maybe. And obviously the white pumpkin, this white branchy tree, which would be great for a winter thing, or obviously something like this. This to me just really gives like Winter Witch, which is a theme that I think is super cool. I really love the Winter Witch, like creepy white tree thing. So like some of these things where it's like this and the white trees, or even maybe like the white raven, just really to me look wintry, and I just find that super exciting that there's stuff that, like, if you don't want to go with the dark, like traditional sort of Christmas colors, like Alpine Cottage with Krampus look, where it's like all like the dark red and black and green, and it's the sort of like old world Krampus theme, or like a more gothic take on the Krampus theme, where it's less of like the folk horror thing, where it's more like it's black and silver with Krampus. Like if you don't want to do that for winter, then you can do like this creepy winter woods witch theme. And then there's the witch watercolor picture that I think is almost, yeah, it could be winter, but also having a lot of blue in it kind of, like I said, reminds me of almost like a beach, like one of those beach houses where like they have the like driftwood that's kind of that grayish driftwood around, and everything's themed as like kind of this grayish or like whitewashed worn wood with like blue and like the brown rope, different decor around, and like the white coral and stuff. Like I still think that could work for that. There's one of those, I'm not sure, maybe that's the wolf, one of those small animal pictures there, the white bat. And I like the setup they have that's like the big huge cobweb over the entire table with this gray and white wallpaper with the gray wainscoting. I think that's pretty cool. So anyway, I hope that you found this interesting, and because I did. And I'll be really excited to see this in person. So hopefully soon they'll be coming out with that at the store near me, and we'll be able to take a look at that.